Viewers, welcome to the Fatu Network. My name is Omar Wali, and with me is Mr. Ousainou Darboe, the party leader and the Secretary General of the United Democratic Party. Mr. Darboe, welcome to the Fatu Network, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you very much, and Ramadan Karim to you. And I hope and pray that we will all have the good health to do the fasting in the right way, and that none of us will be like the Walis. I hope so.
So today is on the 14th of April, and on this day 5 years ago, a key member of your party, Ibrahim Solo Sandem, was arrested with several other people by the state security. They were tortured, and he eventually lost his life. What comes to mind on the 14th of April for you?
Well, the 14th of April always reminds me of the great sacrifices that people of Solo Sandem's caliber are really done for this country. You know, it was on the 3rd of April 2016 when Solo was elevated from President of the Youth Wing to be the National Organizing Secretary of the United Democratic Party at the Basel Congress. But he had started a process, and that was the process of demanding for electoral reforms as a youth leader. And he thought that that mission, he should just continue it and fulfill his dreams, not leave it to the new coming National Youth President, which happened to be Lamin Cham. So on the 14th, he went out with a group of United Democratic Party supporters, men and women. And the agreement really was for other parties to be part of it, but the other parties, I wouldn't name them, did not turn up. Solo Sandem thought that, we should just go on and to manifest their rejection of the system in place. And the system in place can effectively be challenged if you have genuine elections. And genuine elections cannot be held without electoral reforms. So Solo and his men went out demanding for electoral reforms, and he was arrested with his colleagues, several of them, and initially taken to the Police Intervention Unit headquarters, and subsequently to the NIA. It really reminds us of the sacrifices of these gentlemen, their acts of patriotism, their acts of selflessness. But it also reminds me of a situation, which I keep on repeating it, which has been my regret all throughout. That Thursday, about 11 o'clock, the Independent Electoral Commission was going around to check on whether parties have established bureaus. They had checked on our bureaus in the provinces, they were satisfied. Now, the bureaus in the KM and Banjul were to be inspected. And, I checked on the bureau in KM, and I was told that it was not open, but Solo had the key. And that really, made me feel very uneasy. I thought with the slightest opportunity, the APRC would put enormous pressure on the Independent Electoral Commission to deregister UDP. So I called him on the phone, and when he picked up the phone, he said, Solo, where are you? In fact, we spoke in Mandinka. Solo Mintole said, well, mbe bambo. I said, look, please, what are you doing there? Anka be munekela jeto taita na biro yele. Made kamuneketeng. I sartaka, and that is what I regret. Because I didn't know that Solo would die that time. If I knew, I would not have yelled on him. The 14th reminds me of the sacrifices of these people, but also reminds me of how Solo and I
said 5 years since he died.
5 years since died.
And do you think Solo and many others, but particularly 14th of April victims, will get justice?
Well, I say, in my interview with the UDP team and media, I made it abundantly clear to them that I do not want to start being pessimistic. I believe that any administration, including the current administration, will ensure that justice is done to the victims of these 22 years of misrule, particularly the Solo Sandeng and his group. We already seen that 9 members of the NIA, at least one of them has passed away, may God have mercy on him, are being tried, and that is in pursuit of dispensing justice, in pursuit of ensuring that what was done to Solo Sandeng does not go on unaddressed. So we hope that as this Solo Sandeng trial, or the murderers, alleged murderers of Solo Sandeng are on trial, we want to believe that the torture meted out to Lamaro, Falan Sonko, Mahmoud Mane, Fatmata Jawara, Fatu Kamara, Nogoy Jai, and others will also be properly addressed. That no government in this country will turn a blind eye on this thing as if nothing has happened. So I'm very optimistic. And as I said, if the TRRC presents its report today, I believe that the next day, President Barrow will take action on this. I don't want to, I don't want to doubt the commitment of this government to ensuring that the recommendations of the TRRC are fully implemented.
But how about a man? We know that 9 people are going on the trial for the death of Solo and many others. But how about on the person whom the crimes were committed, Yahya Jammeh?
Well, I have always believed, and I still believe, that what was done was at the behest of Jammeh. He knew these things. After all, even if when the act was going on, if he did not know, subsequently he knew. I mean, there were newspaper reports. He knew them. He knew that this would happen, what actually it is. So he is complicit in it. And I think, certainly he is prime. He should be accused number 1 in any of these trials.
He should be accused number 1. And April seemed to not to be a very good month for Gambia. Remember in 2000, students were massacred, and you issued a statement and saying that the government should prioritize to bring former president back to the country to face justice. But do you think that is possible?
Well, I don't think that it is impossible.
Okay.
If there is will on the part of the authorities, it can be done. After all, I appreciate the fact that we do not have an extradition treaty with Equatorial Guinea, for him to be brought to the Gambia to be tried for offenses against our laws. But obviously, what has taken place, to me, appears to be crimes against humanity. And if it's crime against humanity, the International Criminal Court certainly should have jurisdiction. And I want to say that maybe it is time that some representation is made to the ICC prosecutor so that they can open up a formal investigation into the alleged atrocities perpetrated under the watch of President Yahya Jammeh, including rape.
Imagine you're still the foreign minister of the Gambia. What will you do?
Well, one time I thought one thing we should do is try to lobby support for a position. And that position would be present a resolution to the AU, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to endorse the fact that Equatorial Guinea should hand over President Jammeh to the Gambian state or to any other state that where prosecution can be carried out. And with that resolution passed by the foreign ministers, they presented to the heads of state so that the heads of state would take the necessary resolution. But you need to do a lot of background work. You need to do contacts, lobbying to convince others. After all, I do not think any sensible government would want to protect any individual who has committed or who is alleged to have committed such very serious and atrocious crimes in this country against his own people. I don't think anyone would really want to support and protect such a person. So with such a resolution adopted by the heads of state of the AU, Equatorial Guinea, will be obliged to hand over Jammeh to the Gambia for prosecution. And if Gambia feels that for some reason you don't want to carry out the prosecution in this country, well, you could make some other arrangements for prosecution to be carried out in other places.
Zimbabwe is still protecting Mengistu Haile Mariam. But moving on, you were part of politicians in this country who attended the constitutional talks in Abuja. Many people were not happy with that move, that you were part of people who went to Nigeria to discuss the constitutional crisis, knowing fully well that it was the president himself who was unwilling for the constitution to be passed. But after killing the draft, he put all of you in the plane and sent you to Abuja to go and discuss about this issue.
Well, let us just clear this. It's not the president that put me on a plane to go to Nigeria. In fact, the president didn't ask me to attend that meeting. I attended the meeting at the invitation of former President Goodluck Jonathan. And I think out of deference, respect for him, I thought, really, I should attend. Because I do not want, in the first place also, it might be seen that we are just being an obstacle, when in fact we are not any obstacle. Make our views known, and if they are accepted, fine. If they are not accepted, well and good. But then, we thought that, keeping away, in the first place, for me, would be, would really not be treating President Goodluck Jonathan with the honor and respect he deserves from me. And remember, I'm an aspiring president. Okay. And really, when I become president, we would also want to be friends with former presidents, as we would want to be friends with sitting presidents.
Right, you want to be friends with sitting president, but we know that it was like you said, Barrow did not put you in the plane or said go, and you were there on the invitation of former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, but that man was assigned by President Barrow to do this work.
Well, what I understand is that the cabinet decided that there should be a way out of the impasse, and consultations were made with IDEA, international IDEA, and it was international IDEA that really picked President or selected President Jonathan, not President Adama Barrow. So that is my understanding. That is my understanding. But in any case, even if it was President Adama Barrow who selected him, I will still defer to Goodluck Jonathan and show UDP's good faith, demonstrate UDP's good faith, and attend these discussions, because keeping away from the discussions would be really sending the signal that, look, we are not interested. And we are interested in having a new constitution for the Gambia.
You are interested in having a new constitution, but part of the reason is also because you don't want people to say, Ousainou Darboe problem what? Amanson Nakata, to attend this consultation or meeting or whatever they call it in Abuja. Is it?
Well, that is, of course, we don't want UDP to be maligned. It's very easy how people just taint UDP, try to demonize us, portray us, as the party, that does not want anything good to be done in this country. Even during the debates in the National Assembly, you could hear partisan politics. And when you talk partisan politics, they really are referring to UDP's position. And UDP has always been support. But they would never go out and say, very clearly say, look, Adama Barrow, you and your people killed this constitution. It was only the civil society organizations that said so. But otherwise, the other people, no, UDP.
Who do you think killed this constitution? I'm talking to you, I'm asking you a personal question.
I say the person who killed this constitution is President Adama Barrow.
President Barrow killed the constitution?
He killed the constitution.
When you look at most of the people, experts and so many others, they said part of the reason why the constitution was killed is because of this retrospective thing in the constitution.
And I think President Barrow should really be honorable enough to have accepted that clause. Here was a person who said, look, I will serve only for one term, and I will not seek re-election. Now, if you are given an opportunity to seek re-election, why should you now want, a clause to be inserted which, according to you, prevents you from seeking a third term? He should be honorable enough. He should be decent enough. He should have the morals. He should have the moral standing, the moral courage, and tell the Gambian people that I'm not going to do this. In fact, I had said that if I was President Barrow, I would go to ECOWAS, address my colleagues and say, look, this is the promise I gave to the Gambian people. At the end of my 5 years, I'm leaving, even though I had agreed for 3 years, but because of certain things that were still on my plate, which I wanted to be part of my legacy, namely the security sector reform, mainly the constitutional review. I want this to be part of my legacy, and I want to complete them. That is why I'm even going for 5 years. Otherwise, I will stop at 3 years. Now, I have come to my end of my 5 years. I've given the Gambian people a new constitution. I've done security sector reform. We've done this, we've done that. I am leaving.
But don't you think you should also take some degree of responsibility for that? Because this was a man who told Gambians he can't do this job. He said he will serve only 3 years. And you said, whoever said this, I know we discussed this thing, but are you not also going to take some degree of responsibility for emboldening a man who's supposed to serve only 3 years?
Well, to say that if anybody wants to use force to really ask President Barrow to leave, we'll take you to court. I said, look, bring me the agreement that you say he signed, and we'll test it against the Constitution. Bring me the agreement, and we'll test it against the Constitution. If that is offensive, then I owe no apology to Gambian people because I am going by the Constitution of this country. After all, we came in to say there should be a proper constitutional order. There should be adherence to the Constitution. So if my statement that adherence to the Constitution, that is regarded as emboldening Barrow, then those who profess to be constitutionalists are really not constitutionalists. They are something else. So I have no regret about it, and I do not apologize to anybody about it for standing by the Constitution.
So do you think there's a way forward? Election is just a couple of months to go, and if you want to bring this constitution, what do you people want to achieve with this draft, the Abuja talks? Because you talk to most people, they say there's not much time there to make sure that all the constitution go through all the process again and pass through referendum, and election is just at the corner.
Well, Mr. Wall, as I said, if President Barrow really wanted this constitution...
So you're telling me if President is willing today, before election, we will have a new constitution?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So all those time frames...
Absolutely. I mean, he has his foot on the brakes. So let him release the brakes and then we'll move.
So let him release the brakes, let us move. Yeah. But if he is not willing, but like Mandinkas will say, it is not just dragging you people. Let's just discuss and come back. Let him put this thing in the gap.
Absolute confidence and absolute trust that the intention of President Goodluck Jonathan was really to ensure that the impasse was brought to an end. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Maybe the motivation of President Barrow and his acolytes is something else. They are just pretending. And let us go there and discuss, but then hold on to our position. Yeah. So I have absolutely no doubt that President Goodluck Jonathan, his motives, what he set out to do, he genuinely meant it. Yeah.
Imagine Ousainou Darboe was asked or voted to be president to serve only, for example, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, and you assign people to draft a new constitution and come up with a new constitution, and they said, okay, from 2016 of your term, supposed to be part of it. So after in the event that you win 2021 election, 2026 you cannot contest. Do you think are not going to feel some type of way that you've been discriminated?
I wouldn't feel discriminated because I would have known that this is the voice of the Gambian people. After all, the draft of this constitution did not just pick this out and put it in. They had consultations throughout the country, and people spoke. In fact, it was an issue on the issue documents. I think I can recollect 3 issues. One, whether the president should be a candidate for presidency should be a university graduate. University graduate. And our position is that, look, if anybody thinks that being a university graduate is essential for the presidency, make it an issue in your campaign. And say, look, Mr. X is not a university graduate, so don't vote for him because he does not have it. You know? And the issue of age, we say, look, issue of age, you take it as an issue. If you feel that the younger person is the one who should really, and not the older person, make it an issue and convince people not to vote for the one whom you think is old. And the issue of the presidency, for the current president, not to contest, say, no, he should contest. Yeah? But then, we say he should not contest. And of course, the other issue, whether this should be part of his term, we agree that it should be part of his term, of his two-year mandate, of his two consecutive term mandate. I agree that it should be. So, and this is what the people agreed on. But I had said that really, if anybody with some who has some I wouldn't say morals. I think that would be strong. But somebody who really one who adheres to promises, you should know that you shouldn't want to really make this as an issue. If Ousainou Darboe was the one in place, In fact, there would have been no issue about this thing. There would have been no issue about it. And I tell you that when we win these elections, this constitution will take it to the Gambian people with that clause in.
That retrospect.
Oh yes, we'll take it with that clause in. We'll campaign for the Gambian people to adopt that constitution.
But by then, do you think it's not going to be useless by then?
No, because he said the president, the person who is president.
Okay, president.
At the time, who is president, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about another thing has to do in February. You said if Barrow set the record straight, you will link him with drug dealers. That was when he brought in those pickups, I think 9 or so, and. But many people say since then you made a comment, they did not hear from you again.
Yeah, but is it not reasonable for me to give him opportunity, to give him chance?
Okay, you gave him chance.
We are giving him chance at an opportune moment. We remind him. If you remember, one of my engagements at the Bureau, I started talking about guns being brought into this country under dubious circumstances. I talk about this Gambia being used as a transit point for drugs. So I mean, at least with that statement, I thought that would really remind him of what I had said in February, that let him do this. So, I mean, we are just moving on to really repeat our question, repeat our demand. Yeah.
Critics said you're saying this because you're out of government. Because when the first batch of vehicles came, the 47 or 50, you were out there defending him.
I have never defended him. What I have never defended him.
Okay, you're trying to justify.
No, I have said, in fact, I was even asked whether the anonymous donors should not be. I said, yes, properly, they should be. If it were me, I would disclose their names. But what I had stated was that these vehicles were brought in and handed over to the National Assembly. And I said President Barrow was not making any personal use of them. It was handed over to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly distributed them amongst the National Assembly members. So, but this is something quite different.
Okay, but even with that, this was a man who came to power less than 1 year. And an anonymous donor came and gave him 50 vehicles and said, give it to lawmakers, and you just go ahead and accept that. Yeah. Is that proper?
No, and I said that if I were in this position, I would definitely disclose.
Okay.
I would definitely disclose the name of the philanthropist. You see, this issue of philanthropists, I had an issue with that. But it's not. People think that when you're in government, things happen and you keep quiet about it. But that is not so. I had an issue. I had an issue with that. Yeah, I had an issue with that. In fact, I was disciplining one of the youths in the party, and the president didn't like it. And it was around this philanthropy. So it's not that I wasn't speaking, but I was. Yeah.
Elections are just at the corner. Like I said, election is the cornerstone of every democracy on the 4th of December. Do you have confidence on the electoral body, the Independent Electoral Commission?
Well, I have confidence in the individuals who are put in charge of conducting elections in this country. And all that I say is that they should not betray our confidence. They should not really betray our confidence, yes.
But do you have concerns as
well? Well, of course, I have concerns. The concerns are not just because of the body itself, but because of some other actors. For instance, the qualifications for registrations, the issue of attestations. Well, I'm not completely against attestation, but I think that attestation by chiefs should not be permitted. Let's be frank, Does the chief of Woodley West know everybody born in Birif? or in your village? No, no, it doesn't. It is the alcalde who would know. Who would know these people? So for me, the chiefs should not be people who would attest to the citizenship of any of the attestations are found to be false, because there will be challenges in the revising courts. If they are found to be false, the consequences, they would suffer the consequences and not the Independent Electoral Commission.
What is your projection in the election? Who do you think will win?
Which elections?
December 4th election.
Well, anyway, I hear somebody saying that on the 5th of December, Baldi Salva Bolanyotole. Mariano, Baldi Salman Rabunkilimbo, Sagura Bolanyoto.
Mariano Tilabula Sanjula Carne,
Adun Sanju Mantra Keri. Sanju Mantra Keri, you know, so Baldi Sandol Kadiale Tonya, but Sandol Baldi Salikabla, Tilbula Sandol Karna, Baldi Sal Katarabunkilinkono, but we do Baldi Salmantra, do like to say, but more seriously, you know. But we are working towards winning these elections. That is our target. We are working very hard towards these winning elections, and we are reasonably comfortable. If we are to go to the polls today, we know that UDP will emerge victorious.
But how about in December? You said today, how about December?
Yes. Also in December, because our momentum, we are still building up on our momentum. The unfortunate is that I think our biggest enemy, you know, in this whole thing has been the COVID-19.
Okay.
You know, because it really has forced us to slow down on our activities.
Okay, that reminds me of something, because the president said he gave a deadline in March that you know, they will come with new restrictions. You cancel your fundraising. GDC did something, they, you know, did their congress before the date set, and doyen others. But the president went on vacation and he was kind of involved in politics. So many people said, do Gambia even have strong oppositions who will put the president to attack and say, hey, you said we should do this, but you are doing this and you are on vacation. Why are you doing A, B, and C?
But that has been said. We have said so. We didn't gather people. We didn't do the type of thing he did to tell the people, but we did so. And it was carried up to him in the social media and in the local papers. We did so. But then that is why Gambian people should start thinking, is this really a serious person? The man who should lead the fight for the containment of COVID. Is this the attitude? Should that be his behavior? Go to a Lumo, maybe trying to test his popularity. Of course, if you go to a Lumo, you'll fight, because the crowd is already there. They are not going there because of you. They are going there because they are going there. Some are going to sell their goods. Some are going to buy coups. Some are going to buy animals to bring them down to Banjul here. It's not you who is taking them there, who is the cause of them being at the Lumo. But the important thing is that, you know, it just shows how the lack of seriousness of our president in seeing that his pronouncements are really adhered to. After all, you have to practice what you preach. You know, if you preach to me something and you do not do it, why would I take you serious? That is why many of our people, what can you do? They believe that, look, there's no COVID-19. Because if that was true, the president wouldn't be behaving in this way. But again, this is what we'll tell the Gambian people, why they do not deserve somebody like him. Yeah? He just does things for his own political convenience. He has said 8th of March. That's what he has said. And nothing happened on 8th of March. You know? He went on vacation, and then you can see government fuel being used, you know, ferrying him all over URR.
Mr. Darboe, are you confident of winning December 4th election?
Inshallah. December the 5th, you'll have Ousainou Darboe. Since I've now been formally adopted by the party as the presidential candidate, inshallah, 5th of December, we will be there.
The reason why I ask this, I wish I have this vocabulary in English, but I will say it in Mandinka. Sanjali Bojanko, Mansa Bondo Manke Kankuram Bondo. Do you think it's going to be easy to remove President Barrow, who has been there for the past 5 years or so?
Mansa Bondo.
Manke Kankuram Bondo. Yalo Kankuram, Dindim Fulakana Jafo City. Yeah, Bondi Kongata Tulula. So,
Kankuram Bondo Manke.
Mansa Bondo Manke Kankuram Bondo.
Mansa Bondo Manke Kankuram Bondo. Bare Mansome Yalon Kafoko. Wande Darajo. Wande Mola Dokuo. Wala yaksindi. Fama ko kafe ya fanso dendi ko dunde. Fama wala fo. Dendi ko me ya dun aka titarala. Wo dendi ko wurantala le. Wo wurantala lummena wo dun la kensa yata. Yin kato mo binala ten. UDP le ba gagner la. Tele mo fa ma wala binale janto maybe on the 5th. Yeah, man. Quick question, Mr. President-elect. What do you say? You'll have your water. Tell them what fana ngola hirote.
But don't fana ko nyami mori wala e mala be katela dame.
Nyami mori wala mala be katela dame foni mamuta dlano. Ni amuta dlano. Yalla na be katela dame.
Okay. What do you say to claims that where Jammeh failed, that's where Barrow succeeded? He took a huge chunk of people, strong people within UDP, which Jammeh tried so many years and he could not do it.
Well, yeah. Well,
okay, you want me to give an example?
Okay, yeah, give me an example.
Okay,
yeah.
Dembo by Force is one, the Jadama guy, and many other people.
Well, see,
and this were, especially Dembo was a guy who Jammeh tried to take him to APRC, but he could not.
Yes. Look, you see, I hate to discuss individuals.
Right. The reason why.
Yeah, no, but you are hating. But let me just say, he was really APRC. He was campaigning. He campaigned for Jammeh. Look, in our rally at India. Here. In our rally at India, the people of India made it quite clear, and it was in this word, Mome Yalon Kafoko, Ako Abe Mo Kela Fenti Nyimbanko Kang. Amoke no Nyimbanko Kang. What now for la Kotenga Kafoko, Abe Mo Kotenga Fenti Nyimbanko Kang, Wake Fenti Nyimbanko Kang. And that was a direct reference.
For the interest of our listeners, Jomala Kabe Mo Kela Fenti, but Niko Nyimbanko Kang, but Ibu Banko Kang for Gambia Banko.
But Ibu Banko Kang, because after Karamajan, my first influence, Mintonum. Nata metabar hanim bandi buno kunda me awuluta jeto jama kudbo men kata jeto e kamera mantra no kunda sata okono mona bodo memo modo ye UDP la darajo niota iko ifang la darajo long wote wala ke some mistake wote yeah, well, I don't want to say anything about Dembo because if I do maybe dol bi jetole be alon kafuka I don't want to offend but then Dembo be alon ne be mo menti party wanyum kono.
Some others also said your party seemed not to have principle because people will just jump and come and say we have UDP today and you clap for them and the next minute they move out. And another thing has to do with if somebody was former Jammeh and joined UDP, it's not a problem. But if that person joins Barrow, it's a problem.
No, we have never, because we have always believed in the freedom of association. We have always believed in that. You see, the former Jammeh, from Komeal Gavko UDP Koro, really, Kela Kwenye Eka Kong, enablers. Don't have APRC Kono, among enablers today. But dual bijeto, no, enablers no limiting. Etinyaro ke banko kan jamela jamano mol ko la ko wolfo not kafako because be APRC le ni nada no but APRC na man tinyar ki jeto man fen ki jeto man mo man tora fen but mel bi jeto mol man tora ye banko la na fulo tinya certainly no fen jeto we will say something against that
you were returned as the leader of the UDP ahead of December 4th election. And the question many people keep on asking, why Ousainou Darboe? Because this was a man who contested 4 times and lost, and still they want to put you forward. Do you think they were able to sell you to win the election?
Well, I believe the people who chose me believe that they can sell me. And they believe that I'm a sellable merchandise, and that also they believe that I'm a vendable merchandise, so purchasable. So I believe that. But contesting elections several years, but for how many years has Abdoulaye Wade been contesting elections in Senegal? How many years? Several years before he could make it. So the number of times doesn't matter. The circumstances or the environment in which the elections were contested, I think is what really matters. I mean, it was the most hostile environment in which the opposition, it's not only UDP, but the opposition in general in this country contested elections from 1996. The most hostile environment. And of course, you've seen how much suffering we had endured. UDP, was the most battered party in this country. We suffered all sorts of humiliation. We suffered all sorts of ill treatment in this country, and yet, our people, we are really there, steadfast and relentless. Yeah? And of course, they believe that the environment then and the environment now are quite different. The environment then, you wouldn't be conducting this interview. But the environment now is conducive, and where people believe that Ousainou Darboe is the one we have to put up, because it will be very easy for us to sell him. His history, what he has gone through in this country, for pro-patria, not for any other reason, but for this country, not for position or for grand style of living, not for that. If I wanted a grand style of living, when I became vice president, I would have gone to there, but I decided to stay in Pipeline and Kotu, my small huts.
In my boxer's voice, you're small but Bantaba.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, okay, so we also understand that almost 19 candidates are vying for this December 4th election. Some are independent, some belong to political parties. Are you going to form UDP, your party? Are they going to form, or will they form an alliance with other parties if they come forward?
Well, we have not really going with hope that, we want to win the elections with support of other parties. But we will never reject any party that comes forward to say they want to work with us. We'll never reject that. And we should never reject that. Because that doesn't mean that on our own we cannot win the elections. But then it will also, I think it will also be out of place for us to say, look, party A, no, please, no, we don't need it. I think that will be disdainful, that will be contemptuous, and that is not what UDP believes in. That UDP does not believe in treating people with contempt, in being disdainful.
Like you said, December 5th, I will come and tell you, by then you will be president, and so that's what you said. So, if you, in the event that you become president of this country, what will be your 3 main priorities in your first 90 days in office? Okay. Okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's say 5.
Well, you see, everything is a priority in this country.
Yes, but there are things.
Everything is a priority in this country. Of course, by January, there wouldn't have been much spending out of the new budget.
So you'll cut the budget.
I certainly cut the budget.
Okay.
To a level, that is our economy, should be able to maintain. Of course, in doing that, not necessarily that money would not be spent, but then you have to allocate it. Priority areas: health, agriculture, education. One gets appalled when you see the quality of our teachers in the primary schools. That's where the foundation is being laid. So you ought to have well-trained, committed, and educated teachers at that level. And you cannot do that without really providing them the necessary incentives. Otherwise, they'll just use the classroom as a stepping stone to other areas where they can really live in comfort. And then those from the primary level will just grow up not being properly prepared. So we'll put it. So when we continue, we'll put it in those to put the fund in those areas. Doesn't necessarily mean that there will have to be a reduction in the expenditure, but then put the expenditure in the right places. When the expenditures are put in the right places, I don't think anybody will complain about that. But we'll also try to certainly make sure that expenditure at the level of the office of the president and the state house is certainly cut. And when it's cut, it's not going to make sure that it does not surface in other areas.
In the event that you lose the election, what next for you?
Well, in the event that I lose the next elections, I'll certainly take to consultancy in law, provide consultancy services to lawyers who would want to use my little knowledge in law, and do a little bit of writing too. And whether I lose the elections or not, I think I'll do some writing too. And also, now we have a lot of land in Darboe, so I can go back and do farming, in Padibiri and in Banjul. We'll do farming in those places, Yes.
So, because many people said you are the uniting force of the United Democratic Party. In the event that you are not there, it might break away. And losing this election might not be good for your party. Is that the case? Which, if UDP lose December 4th, that is the end. There'll be breakaway factions, the party will split.
Well, I think that is the wish of those people. I think that is their wish. And we just pray to God that their wishes are not actualized. After all, as I have said at the Congress, the United Democratic Party is just not a movement. It is an idea etched in the minds, in the hearts of the people. So it is not Ousainou Darboe. After all, Ousainou Darboe is part of the group that revolves around the United Democratic Party. Those people who do not wish well for the United Democratic Party, that's their thinking. And honestly, that's what they pray for. Because they believe that if that happens, then they can also pick from the crumbs. But the United Democratic Party will remain united. After all, we have not worked for all these 22 years. Just because of one individual. And that is why, when I was incarcerated, the United Democratic Party fought on. And they were able, from the ranks of the party, pick up somebody as his presidential candidate. If Ousainou Darboe was the chain linking all, Ousainou Darboe was found or in jail, not being able to do anything, then the party would have disintegrated. But no, it didn't disintegrate because we believe in the ideals of the party and not individuals controlling the unity of the party. It is the idea that really unifies us and nothing more, nothing else.
This reminds me of a lawmaker in African National Congress. He wrote a book after the party, that is after the ANC, the personal journey within the ANC. Do you also have similar thing in UDP? Some people are there, they are not there for the party's interest, but to build their political career.
Well, I've not seen that yet. I've not seen that yet. But after all, in any political party, what would you expect? Every political party, you have individuals, who really work on for their political career, and I think it really should be that way, and that is how you really maintain unity within the party. What do we see in other countries? For instance, in the West, what do we see? People work their political careers to parties, rise up, and then ultimately they hold one elective office or the other, or even the presidency. Yeah? So that if that happens in the UDP, I would really appreciate that, because I know that really there are people who really believe in the values of this party. That is why they are working, also that ultimately they may become leaders. Not every one of them would become the Secretary General leader of the party, but then all of them would agree that our party's principles we must protect. Our party's principles we must stand by, and that is what must guide us.
What plans do you have for transport system in the country? You stand on this road, you see people struggling, going to work, coming, and most of the politicians in this country tend to forget about transportation, and it's a very important.
Yeah. See, we were going to do something through the municipal council. We are going to have the urban transport service. Look, the truth is that there are many areas, where passengers or commuters really struggle before they can get to the main road, and then get to the main road, and then get the transportation to their required places. Yeah? What stops? Which KMC was going to do? To have buses, Ply, Serakunda, Bakau Banjul, Banjul Brikama Wellingara, Bruce B. Yeah? But because of some silly things, they will not be supported. These are the things that we want to do. We want to ease transportation, and my heart aches when I see school kids, Gambian High School and others, waiting for hours on, because there is insufficient school buses allocated to them. And I have asked the question a few days ago that the Turkish donation of the buses, where are they? They should really be put on the road for use by our school-going children, so that their transportation problems are eased. Yeah? And of course, our transportation, we believe that the Gambia bus service, should really be well equipped in terms of number of vehicles, number of buses, so that this problem of transportation is addressed. Or, well, let me not say or the government, but then, when we come in, the KM, their idea, and plans for transportation, bus service within the greater Banjul area, and that is Banjul, KM, and West Coast will certainly be handled. Going to Gunjur sometimes, it's a problem. Sanyang, but you can have bus services in those areas, and that is what was conceived by us through our mayor in KM, but somebody sat there and scuttled it.
Who is that somebody?
No, that
executive.
Of course, part of the executive. They scuttled it. Even you have this congestion on our roads. you know, and that is because you do not have parking spaces. You do not have parking spaces. You know? And our mayor came out with something on that. But that was also scuttled, because if it was done, they say, oh no, maybe UDP mayors did this, you know. But it's for the good of the country. It's good for the good of the community. It's not only UDP who is going to benefit from it. In fact, it would even enhance central government's, you know, credibility. Say that look, this is a government that is working hand in hand with the local authorities to address some of the problems in the communities. It would have been.
Mr. Darboe, another thing before we end this interview has to do with confidence in leadership. Most of the experience Africans have is that people will promise them, they lack confidence in their leaders. Or leaders will tell them, we'll change this and that for you, better economy, better living standard. But at the end of the day, when most of those people take over office, they tend not to fulfill those promises. What are you doing to make sure that, to restore that confidence? For people can have confidence in their leadership. Somebody might not vote for you in the event that you win to be president, but you will preside over people who belong to other political parties. What do you have for those people?
Well, what I have for those people is that they are Gambians and are citizens of this country. They'll be respected by the government, that no one will be treated in a way that is not in accord with best practices because he or she does not support the UDP. No. After all, for 22 years of our struggle, these are the values that we've been preaching, and these are the values that has held us, you know, and kept us in this struggle. And because we believe in them, that is why it has taken us so long to be in this. Others who really do not believe in these values have found easy ways out. And we have never attempted to find any way out other than to really get at the head of affairs and do for the country what the people of this country deserve. What I can say, take it or don't take it, that nobody will be discriminated against in this country on account of anything, particularly on account of your political persuasion or on account of your political affiliation. Will never.
Gambia's only neighbor is Senegal. And in 2017, a security treaty was signed between, at the time you were foreign minister, with Mankeur Ndiaye, the hot pursuit thing. But it seems that thing has not been observed by Senegal. We have concerns, we have reports that Senegalese security will enter into the country and arrest people, take them to Senegal, prosecute them, and sometimes they will even have confrontation with Gambians. What message do you have for the leadership in terms of, with regards to that agreement? Reviewing, because Senegal seems not to be honoring that, that security agreement.
Well, I think what I should say is that the both countries should be guided by the spirit and letter of that agreement. After all, it was done for a purpose, you know, that people do not commit crimes in Senegal or even in Gambia and run, you know, into the and run into another country. I mean, for safe haven. Yeah? If you commit a crime in Senegal and you run into the Gambia, that's the principle of hot pursuit. But then, principle of hot pursuit also, I mean, it has its limits, you know, imposed by international law. So that is why we should be guided really by the spirit of it, and we hope that His Excellency President Adama Barrow and President Macky Sall will really make sure that nothing, happens, by relying on this agreement that will really bring a strain, between the two countries. After all, both countries signed that agreement in good faith, believing that it will serve the benefit and interest of the two nations, and nothing must be done really to undermine, that very intention. That's what I would say.
So finally, they call you Mandela. So okay, let me give you a story here. When Nelson Mandela stepped down as president of South Africa, excuse me, Thabo Mbeki took over, and the issue of HIV/AIDS came in. Mbeki said he doesn't believe in HIV. He said there's no HIV in South Africa. There is hunger and poverty. There is no link between HIV and AIDS. He did not know anybody who dies of AIDS. So his health minister at the time said, those who think that they have HIV and AIDS should go to the should eat garlic and beetroot. And Mandela called the ANC MPs to try to persuade them so that they can avoid 330,000 deaths. So he went to the parliament. He was heckled by ANC lawmakers. One of them said, ANC lawmakers are like a pack of wild dogs who are tearing up their prey. That is Mandela. Mandela came out and said that was his lowest moment. Do you have a lowest moment? Do you have regrets, something that you sit and say, if I had known throughout your political career?
Well, I really do not, particularly the scenario that you have painted here for supporters of the party to really behave to me in a way that puts me down. It has never happened. I've always enjoyed utmost respect from all members of the party, to the extent that I feel very embarrassed when someone like Alaj Mosane, much older than me, or Kemesi, Lamin Diba, the way they defer to me, I just kind of car. The way they defer to me, and other elderly people, I mean, sometimes it embarrasses me. So I have been held in very high regard. I mean, the utmost respect has been accorded to me by members of the party. Yes, I have just, for regrets in my political career, I have told you one here. Yeah. The way I parted company with Solo is my greatest regret in my political career. And that I cannot repair it.
It's unrepairable.
It's unrepairable.
Mr. Darboe, finally, Janim Beta, Ngalonko Biketa on the 14th of April Karotil Taninani, Solo ni model findita puro ye kero demonstration comme yela kontan balay tandi modul fanam kabri botam kasonyin do jamani ututaje enin lungo na sita muna kane hakiloto.
Well, nin sita man kana hakiloto wolon Gambia dinglu, particularly UDP dinglu katu wolungla bo nyemo UDP kollade ye mel tilimbali ya jote ke barama falan sonko nyolo lamaro nyolo modu ngom nyolo Mr. Jabang ibapati kote dinglte adi menke ka mantra ke ka UDP de iko banko kadu ka nafa banko belindat ne kono so akan haklo bulandi mena dal wolon ka ko moliye I fambole nim banko ya ad won molmo mo lunnati ma yaron ka ko UDP ko damma manyana content ka content no fanan dinna ko nanya ton ka yakono koko sababu balale yama nana man funti ba ni solo san yala politiko ni wala ya falling hanimel be APRC wala wonu le fana mo lunnati me yalon alhamdulillah adum bi ba ambe sun karo ko leten da fula mo be foyta be UDP la bang foy mantra UDP la bang bi ne sunte yebulo la alay ya dani fo solo sanden jannato me yalon kafo ko wala ba be nyaato jannato futu ay kilondil meltu ala sike simati ala sike moti mele kutute ala si tambindi fala e faymen do ku bank Gambian banko le e tel si ku do ku nyim banko men tambi tawda be Gambian ko do fem sun tabi ni ku ya ko men fanan kan soto nyil no do wala ni solo sanden talata nyamin wo ni lombe joye num nata talala wo nyano kad walung lomo a isi bitakan kado inyanta nala lung menna Banjul yo bay na aram sole mota Banjul ni ngani karo ka bare IEC tata jetole yo okay now KM ngani ka de nga kile telephone odo kai solo be min tala ko nyakombe bambo kai ko be mun la bambo e manta office o tata ni office o yele yama jani ben patio ni jani ba brukala kado nim nyel mata nyul lado be fen ka ko duka ka nyamen o mu kulati ngamen nimisa do animisa ni fangata fangafa e nyama ino silanya mbela patio be silani ka ko kukanta soto wala nan diam te wonya na banku kono ila banko kano akan haklo bulande wala akan haklo fana bulande ka
mol fon solo bonni nyama kono anoda wani ngajale ko yemurunde ko daga purelo UDP disema el carte fo men kana mojama ko ilo tel signala ni mawil hanis
million tombo really namra nyan tolle nyin kala wala munat na tele usenda munat na tele usenda bari ngamira men fanamu ya jele kafo ko nyin wato be nanya ton kaya we ma hello sotato e maja kafo ko nanya ton kaya ko no ka patio yama kuke patio la yama mem manyam e fa ya jele kafo ko nanya ton kaya ko no patio ntemam balu patio la do mol bi je melanu kafo ko patio balu tan telale ya ja fanan kafo ko na miro lo nyede na ja fanan kafo ko mpareta ko kulala men si kenna ya bi april ko fode nyin ka Gambia jam april 2015 lam yam kar wolu la nat face to face confrontation with the security dolu nin dol bodo adoba de la mol savo ko nyin ko akanyanta le sai muru ko ma na janto no kito man diana nu tanunu albukara na sadale bolanu kadu wa mol adi ganje nyenje fanan ka ko Gambian ko la fobe Ousainou Darboe to Ousainou Darboe ka ganje nu katu ko tapale ya men ka nunto a fayta dame ke be bulam boxo ko ngole jikide ka ko na mole no ye fenne jentoto e mammenje no mo ko tente patio ko no
foni ko Darboe okay ngetel day dafa da fono le sila o kay akayanta la sila modo jube men si tambi pati nyim fal nyam debe terra ko I can be the cancer for spiritual leader of the party was it kenole bare ni haklo na fonko na diamol ko jeto na lumena be na diamol ko fakan ko transitional UDP la transitional abe commence la 2022 ko banko fa na transition abe commence la 2022 ado ngaje ka ko banko la transition ya lo kay transition manke so 2022 transition banko la transition abe commence la UDP fa na transition abe commence la 2022 besi so nyina ka ko politique party o manke nyende kaje kara ka ko ya ja ka ko ni boda bana choko ana ba kala jeto adesiala choko membe dem mengo kala wala ba fa dañu la ka ko bi okay be ñoo fa la jane bari mota fa ko be jantela le ya wala ba kala not re winter
luay saji lule dina te luay mendina ya miran to gane la folo ba
so okay
katu memo hadama din kany madama de la miranya ni hadu mo ni ya long kadi kavoko ite in 2021 janimbe wadi konte mutana nte fombe badu fo sanju lolu ma yan tomba fombo banno la famba ala be min kala fute ngol
anko UDP tombone but yalo ni mukumal de mengalon kai want you to explain dolko comme tax evasion ko ni ko namo me bukajo watin na la ko ete lono la
ni wama bi nakala semansi kade nin tax evasion na fanka bitu nata be luwato bitu salu wato ka ko tonte lono banna dun man tradu wata dum ni mol ke fang wal ka be ke fang
you are qualified
intede nga fole kon ko nin haklo jakasita yawe nin haklo jakasita yawe boda moya kontoto wala kuram bala tankala de banne man sol man ni fen kenna bitu dalo la bitu nim men konte lono la bitu inyata men kala woke
nin ke wa na tabake ko mol ka jajumel de ko mol ka jajumel de
e ka jajube
awa ko re hakelo de jajumel ba
de ngam several years bod na politiko ko andi na dokula de andi na dum lente ba fo ni ke jamaare bi jeta mel to fen ken wala de
so sawo kay interview ni nata ak kum fadula le mona sore men fala mo ne jandi ngata be Gambia be ba fale mo be Ramadan Mubarak ala fondin sraya kono aya kende be dunda sunkaro kono bismillahirrahmanirrahim be sidwa na kumfa alhamdulillah rabbil alamin ni na sehol yem mem fo na almamol len mem fo nga wakanta nga be ke duwati nga lon ne ko bantundin kol walta man walta te weto man nga na fa ko yo fo
yalla ñu wali yolu wal ni la jallandin la bi jeto bari nga be ke duwati Gambia ya molu la ñomo yo ala yo wasabatende kamera ba kauska ya maro menke ngamuta ako alwali maral kana sonka ban man ka kan wodi wada zawo ako alkuya bare alkana janja wala nyantam bema adu be karafo bundalto surtout dal nyaton kono fo alkal lamba fo almame fo patil nga atamande a nyama kad naaje be karafo dilan lanno le kata naaje be mokal almamete lanno le kata la kodo
to nya
karafo lom naaje UDP yenteta yenkela nyaton kodo lanno lom pati nyaton ka ko tenke man sakunda do kulalo lanno le yakende be palasol men be bulu abe mutarim be bulu wadal won won al nga kanta meliye jiko sotonto foye nyin karafo dinna to kare ganira jikol tinya nkana ke bafula ko ni ngalon num wata nyanyala mo al nga buñaro ke fanan na luwalla kol mel kake ni watol kono luwa buña baliyalum adun luwa buña baliya ya jakkata dawo dato masi bo damma kabula kono kade state of anarchy wala kana nasi adun mansula wala nyim banko kam intello bakile fakilente ninte nget kam fata ngete tulubu sante 2 hours later mina ngana ni misala woto mem bakla nget lobum yama ngambori wama pour kana ni masako soto ni wato kono ni okuyata bake na uniform tiyolo ngaje ko men kete etede ya don ban fo bundalon pour même yal ka ko kan immigration don ban fo ko tan non ban melka tan ni wato kono ama mo nyafa ada manyana mo nyafa la fana isi kam fa o kusi dimi nyawonya dukare na security molo nin wala be do ko la alin kanan na kamfa jindi kan in fact last phone ko nyum PIU officer min ya men fenke one night one na moto na escort he was part of my escort very nice gentleman abe mun na banko du ko kata ke baka nyum barma sifa kele Gambian ko dukare anni security molo ni ye deng nyola na banko ni na tankandi mo kurumul la nkane telke moti me yalan ka fa ko ben kam fa jindile kam then ngalo ne ka fa ko mbodas dole fana mbota sun karo ko Christian community wala fana mbota la sun karo ko nyin karo ifana mbota sun karo la sun karo ko adu ngalo fana ifana duwata nyim banko ele pour tenkun den kairo si sabati nyim banko kam and final sinilo fana ka fa ko nganya atlin December lalde wala alta president sot la nyim banko ka mezi hinal me yan ko asilo alla ko wala me be tambala Ousainou Darboe la so ala felendito ina mo modal nyanda men to bonna so ngi namul ko wala bandi samem ko bodde.
Thank you so much Mr. Darboe baraka ba bari ina be jobo kana so tilefula dare nyaka e nya jobo
no afsani yalla ni solo sen ko ni ngam fenka kam fenka bakene
okay sorry man Marenko ila frijo ko e chabo ka jani bena frijo le kadi ano sanere
no problem nyana ma wali ko wa binna badi la wala
viewers ala barka bake dan wala Mr. Darboe Ousainou Darboe UDP la